What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over what's new in Madden 19. We had a bit of an update to the game today. Nothing too crazy. This isn't like a title update, but there are some new things to the game. Gonna try to start doing these videos a little bit more often, even if it's not a complete title update, just kind of a what's new in Madden 19, because there's new things almost every week. There's either a title update of some sort, there's a tuning update, there's, new content in the game, or they're, adjusting certain game modes and things like that. So I think it's just good, just to keep everybody updated. So what's new in Madden today? So first off, let's talk about, there's been a pretty big update to the MUT draft game mode. A game mode that a lot of people seem to like, but they always have problems with it, in one way or another with the kind of the selection process. So the MUT draft mode is pretty much a free-to-play mode. And unless you're playing competitively, it costs a little bit, but it's not like anything crazy. Basically, you draft your team. You have 20 rounds. You draft your team. You draft your coach, which they're all random. You don't know who you're going to get, and you go up against other people that drafted their team. So it's balanced. You're not going up against, guys that have paid thousands of dollars for their team that you can't compete against. So it's a good, even playing field, and a mode that people that don't like spending a lot of money like to play. But it's also the competitive mode this season for the Madden Challenge. So they made a lot of adjustments to the mode, and here on EA's site it says, our teams have been listening to the community feedback around MUT drafts after the start of Season 2, and we're going to make some changes starting at 11 o'clock Eastern today. These changes will go live. The goal of these changes is to improve the overall user experience in MUT draft mode while balancing the mode for better competitive play. Here is a list of the changes going live today. They revamped the legend round in MUT draft. So in MUT drafts, you always have a legend round. I believe it's usually your last round that you draft. You have an all legend round. The 3 selection slots in the legend round will now consistently supply one of the following options. So in the first slot, you will always get a secondary player that is a legend, either a strong safety, a free safety, or a cornerback. In slot 2, you will always get one of these following positions: a linebacker, a running back, a quarterback, or a defensive lineman that is also a legend. All of these players are legends in this round. In slot 3, you will always get either a wide receiver or a tight end. Now, why is this good? Well, because when you're going through the draft, you always know in the back of your head, like maybe you kind of come to a crossroads in an earlier round where you say, okay, I got a good cornerback, I got a good wide receiver, and then you get another option for a wide receiver or a cornerback, and sometimes you're not sure which one to take. Well, you can take one of those guys knowing that there's a really good chance in that last round you can get the other position. If you know that, like, okay, I'm gonna take a cornerback here, but I'm gonna need another wide receiver, you know that come your last legend round, there's a good chance that you get a wide receiver or a tight end, or maybe, just secondary in general. Maybe your secondary is a little weak and you only got like one secondary player, but you're kind of presented with a round where you have a secondary player you can draft, but you also have a really good quarterback, and you really need that quarterback. You can take the quarterback and know, okay, at least when my legend round comes, I'm definitely guaranteed a legend secondary player. So that's why that is important. Moving along, they removed some players from the draft. It says we removed some lower tier players from the draft that would often feel unappealing when picking them. This should help make each round feel as if you are drafting a significant player who could truly help your team. So basically, they removed like some core elite, like early year core elite cards that, their speed just simply is not something that is up to date with the current landscape of the players. So if you're playing MUT draft, you don't want to draft an 83 speed wide receiver or an 82 speed cornerback or 83 speed running back, because there are so many better players now that those players are useless, and when they come up in your draft, no one wants to pick those guys. But it also, sometimes you wind up being forced to pick that guy because maybe the round that you're picking, you don't have any better selections. So they removed players that don't really fit with the current average player that's out right now. So it just further ensures that your draft will be more up to par and the team can be more competitive. They also added new players and programs. The following programs have been added to the draft pool with this update: the Blitz players, the Football Outsiders, and various other players from previous programs. So, they try to update the draft pool every few weeks, so they added some newer of the promo guys in there. They moved the offensive line legends into the normal draft pool. This is another very big change to the mode. It says all O-line legend players have been moved out of the legend round and placed into the normal draft pool. This should help improve the balance in the trenches. Previously, we received feedback that there were a lot better pass rushers in the draft than there were pass blockers. This should help remedy that feedback. And this is true. That's always a big issue with MUT draft, is that typically there are way better pass rushers in the draft than there are offensive linemen. The offensive linemen that you draft typically are not good enough to really be able to get a good block on the pass rushers, on the defensive linemen that are in the mode. So instead of making the legend offensive line players only, before you could only draft those guys in the legend round, which you only have one legend round. Now, legend offensive linemen, which are some of the best O-linemen in the game, those guys will pop up throughout the entire draft now. So it gives you the opportunity to draft a better O-line that can better help defend some of the crazy pass rushers in the game. So it's kind of, again, about bringing balance to the mode. They revamped the wide receiver draft round. So you always have a all wide receiver draft round. It says we have revamped the all wide receiver round in the draft to ensure it is providing elite type players. This will help ensure users get at least one good wide receiver option in the draft. So before, like I said, the all wide receiver round, you could be stuck with guys that are all under 85 speed, guys that are very underwhelming, guys that don't really move the needle for your team. Now in your all wide receiver round, you're guaranteed to have at least one like ridiculous wide receiver, like a guy that is, a top wide receiver in the game. So you don't have to pick that guy. Maybe you get two good wide receivers in your round, and you have a choice, but you're always going to have at least one really good option. Again, this is good to know, because if you're in your draft and you're presented with a pretty good wide receiver, but you really feel like you need the corner, let's say you're in round 4 or whatever, and you have a good quarterback that you really need a quarterback, but you're also presented with a good wide receiver. Well, you can take that quarterback because you have an all wide receiver round coming up, and that also you have a legend round at the end that there's a very good chance you'll get a wide receiver there too. So it's all about knowing that you have certain players that are almost guaranteed to pop up at some point, so you don't have to reach in certain spots. And then they also revamped the secondary round. So you do have another round that's all secondary players. We have revamped the all secondary / all defensive back round in this draft to ensure each of these rounds are providing elite secondary players. So just like the wide receiver round, you're guaranteed at some point, you're guaranteed an all secondary round where one of your options is going to be a top of the line defensive back. So those have been the changes that have been made to MUT draft. Those are all really good changes. Again, it just ensures competitive balance, and it just makes it to where you kind of can know how to draft your team, because like I have an all secondary round, I have an all wide receiver round, and I have a legend round that guarantees players of these type of positions. So it kind of helps you determine who to draft in the other rounds, because you know what's coming up. So that is the update to MUT draft. Now, what's new in Madden? Let's jump back over to Ultimate Team. The Zero Chill promo has gotten a lot of new content today. The out of position players have dropped today. Honestly, they are all pretty much very underwhelming. I made a video about, kind of a preview video to this last week, talking about some of the guys that would most likely be getting out of position cards, and most of them I got right, but they're just very underwhelming cards. I don't think this is all of them that are going to be dropping. I do believe that they're going to release some more, because even on the stream today they said that this is the current out of position player. So there's going to be more. There's probably going to be your typical free safety Calvin Johnson, which is going to be like the big master card, the wide receiver Dion, potentially like cornerback Moss, a free safety Julio. You're going to get those big guys eventually, but the problem is that in years past, the lower guys were still very good budget cards, and this year it just doesn't look like it. We did get the quarterback Odell. He's only 81 overall. He's not a very good card. Even just to use for fun, he's not very good. Most of these cards here are just they're not very good. Let's see what else we got here. So we did get a Taysom Hill wide receiver card. I thought they would give him a halfback card just because you could move him to more spots. He got a wide receiver card. I'll get him just because I have a Saints theme team, but not very usable. I mean, only in short routes, I guess you could use him and he'd be okay. He's, I guess, one of the better cards, just because if you're using him on short routes, he'll be fine. But other than that, I mean, his route running is just not very good. But he's at least okay speed. He's not a liability, especially if you have a theme team and some sprinter. He'll have decent speed. Melvin Ingram, middle linebacker, not a very good card. Very slow. Just nothing about that card really jumps out at you. Lamar Jackson, halfback, is I guess one of the more usable cards because he's 93 speed. I believe he also has like 89 spin. So, I mean, he's got really bad catching, so you can't really... I mean, he's got really bad carrying, too, so that's, like, a bummer. Like, he's gonna fumble a lot, but if you want to, like, sneak him in there on some toss plays or something like that, you know, or, you know, use him as a wildcat quarterback, that might be cool, but just, again, very underwhelming, you know, not somebody you're dying to use. Julius Peppers, 74 speed, I mean, 74 speed linebacker, no thanks. Nobody wants that. George Fant, tight end, he's okay. He's offensive lineman, that's tight end, so he's going to have a good run block. He's got decent speed, good catching. So, you know, kind of a guy you could put out there that will block good for you, but also, you know, I guess on short routes will be okay. But again, not someone that's that exciting. Cordell Patterson at halfback. A lot of problems with this card. I definitely knew they would do this one, but a little bit too slow. I think, man, give him like 92 speeds. You know, he is a fast guy. 89 speeds, very slow. His catching is 71. I mean, he is a wide receiver. Why is his catching so low? His catching should at least be in the 80s because he's actually a wide receiver. And again, carrying very low. He's going to be a fumble problem. Anthony Barr, strong safety. You know, I said that they would put a linebacker at strong safety. I just assumed Deion Jones. Anthony Barr, this card actually wouldn't be bad if it wasn't so slow. 86 speed is just... At this point of the year, man, when you got Tyreek's running around out there, Deshaun Jackson's, it's like, you can't put a 86 speed safety out there. But if this guy was like maybe 90, 91 speed, you know, being 6'5", that would be crazy. That would be nice, but he's just too slow. So again, like, underwhelming. That would be an awesome budget safety if he was just a little bit faster. 81 zone coverage isn't the worst in the world. Like, it's just a speed thing. I mean, if you want to load him up with sprinter and you got a Vikings team and Coach Madden, I mean, yeah, you can get him up into the 90s, but yeah, it's a lot of work to get him there. Outside linebacker Sean Taylor, always a favorite. He's okay. He's probably one of the better cards. You know, a 90 speed outside linebacker is good. He's a good user option at 6'2". I think his zone is like in the mid 80s, which isn't bad. So this card's not bad. His tackling's not very good. His tackling could be a little better. I'm not sure what his hit power is. I'm sure his hit power is decent. This is usually a fan favorite. This is probably going to be one of the better budget cards. If there's one card you could take away from this as a good budget card, it'll probably be this guy. A really fast linebacker that you can use. Or, you know, if you're not a guy that has like a Shazier on your team, if you don't have MUT Master, this is a very, very, very good budget user option right there. But other than him, nothing too crazy. Quarterback, Walter Payton is the big card thus far. I mean, this will be a kind of a fun card to use. You know, his throw power is not very good, but at least he's got, you know, doable accuracy. His throw on the run, throw under pressure is good. He's 90 speed, so you can run around with him. So that's like a fun card to use. That's what I was hoping would be Odell, like something like that. Something that's not, it's not game breaking, but it's good enough to use for fun. The Odell card is not that, but the Walter Payton card is. So, like I said, out of position so far, big flop for me. I know that they're going to release some of the bigger names probably later on. For me, I'll grab Taysom Hill just for my Saints team. And budget option wise, I think that Sean Taylor is decent. But other than that, yeah, there's really nothing here. So that's what's new in Madden. That's for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and these type of videos. Let me know if you like these type of videos in the comments below. And as always, I will see you guys next time.